let me ask if you could give me just a really quick take on this. Do you think that God is gendered,
Mm,
genderless, or something else?
yes. I think in the book, it came across that I would say God is genderless. I might even have that word somewhere. But this is the beauty of writing a book that people are gracious enough to pay attention to, because then you
Mm.
realize, oh, I could have said that better. Like there's a chance that I could grow. And so if I communicated genderless in the book, now I would like better to say God is the perfections of the entire spectrum that we have named as gender. And so, any qualities that we might associate with particular bodies in their particular cultures, God is the perfection. And so, God, maybe better said, is gender full in the sense that any of the virtues or the qualities that we see embodied typically or across a spectrum in sexed bodies, God is the perfect expression of all of those things, or God is the source of all of our life. I mean, to me, that's been a better way to think of Imago Dei, that male and female are made in God's image, and therefore that entire spectrum of gender expressions really is perfected in God's being.
Thanks for watching this Theology Lab video. If you're enjoying it, you can subscribe to the channel below and you'll get more Theology Lab videos as soon as they're released. I almost wish I disagreed with you a little more on this so I could think of a more interesting question. I mean, because I love this idea that God is the perfections of gender,
Mm,
gender full is a nice way through that
mm,
question. And here's something I don't think I've ever really been able to settle on myself in understanding this,
mm,
right? The second person of the Trinity is, at least in some way, the individual Jesus. I think there's still a traditional belief in me of him having an
mm.
individual existence
Oh,
connected
totally.
to this body,
Absolutely. Yes,
male.
fully. Yes.
He is not second-rate deity.
No.
I just wonder what you do with this. I have no idea
Ugh.
myself.
No, that really is the right next question. So in the previous answer, I was thinking God is God, the eternal God, right? Not incarnate. And yet God decided, and now it is true that the Son of God is embodied male. It is a Jewish male who is at the right hand of the Father. This is what we confess in the creed, as crazy as that is, as wild as that is what we assent to. And so there is here, right, the scandal of particularity. It's the same scandal that we saw in the covenant. Why did God just choose one family? Why doesn't he choose everyone? God chose to enter in the being of one person, and persons are sexed and gendered. they're well, I know that recognizes a modern conversation that's quite complicated, but as we understand Jesus, I'll go back to the exegetical evidence. We don't have any evidence that he is intersex. He's circumcised and no one raises any difficulties. Like he navigates the world as a male and therefore has gendered masculine expressions. I think there's been excellent work on masculinity in the first century world and how Jesus in some ways aligns with it, but also totally turns it upside down in other ways. And so there is a way in which he is the perfection of virtue, but there's also his particularity. And I don't know that I have the full and right answer to that. I have a group of PhD students, and the first one is graduating next month. And her dissertation is on the maleness of Christ as an agent of reconciliation between men and women in Colossians.
Hmm.
And so, how is his embodied maleness bring all men and women back to that place of mutual unity?
Oh, that's really that's fascinating. Here's one way this book has helped me think a little bit more about this question of, the second person of the Trinity is a
Mm,
Jewish male. You've brought up this language, right? He's born from a woman.
mm.
Um, and we think about traditional conception, it is yes, his material body comes from a woman, but males contribute something, right? Our biology tells us that
Exactly.
males contribute something,
Yes.
not with him. This is
Right.
the interesting part about the virgin birth to me. So here's why I think this kind of bears out. So when I see Jesus, when I imagine the risen Jesus, I'm imagining a unique male whose flesh
Mm,
comes entirely from a female and has no and there is no male behind it, unlike
mm,
any other biological
Right.
male. That's kind of a theoretical truth. Someone who's got artistic abilities has got to be able to take that idea and to be able
Mm,
to convey it in more
mm,
interesting ways than I
mm,
can articulate with words. But
mm.
your work has helped me see that.